Also, I let Kit know about this. Did y'all hear about Dave Chappelle's show out in Minneapolis?
I am enraged by this because I think this is so stupid. So let's pull up this tweet here. Do you want to read it, Lainey, or should I?
We hear you. Tonight's show has been canceled at First Avenue and is moving to the Varsity Theater. See our full statement for more. I'm not even going to bother reading the statement.
I think it's only fair for context. Would I mind if I read it?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
So the Dave Chappelle show tonight at First Avenue has been canceled and is moving to the Varsity Theater. To staff, artists, and our community, we hear you and we are sorry, which is such a cuck move. We know we must hold ourselves to the highest standards, and we know we let you down. Bullshit, you're a venue. You're supposed to have, high-profile individuals. You let these little punks who have no backbone whatsoever push you around. Continuing on, we are not just a black box with people in it. We understand that First Avenue is not just a room, but meaningful beyond our walls. The First Avenue team and you have worked hard to make our venues the safest places in the country, and we will continue with that mission. The world is not a liberal college area, okay? It's not some safe space. Sometimes you're going to run into people that are real jagoffs, that are assholes of the highest order, okay? But you made it a safe place. Everything's safe. A comedy show is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be engaging. It's supposed to be shocking. That's what a successful venue should strive for. But oh no, Dave Chappelle said some jokes. Dave Chappelle, who again broke a lot of barriers, who has not only just covered one topic of jokes, but a wide variety of jokes. And if you're a successful comedian, and let's actually keep this image up here. If you're a successful comedian, you're supposed to poke fun of everything. The whole job of a comedian is to ridicule everything, to make fun of everything. Because you know what? Everything in this world has been built by humans, and everything that humans do as a species is downright sometimes stupid, and we all make mistakes. And the job of a successful comedian is to make people laugh, which none of these workers can ever do in their lives. So there we go. We believe in diverse voices and freedom of artistic expression, but in honoring that, we lost sight of the impact this would have. We know there are some who will not agree with this decision. You are welcome to send feedback. Which is, again, if you're for freedom of speech, if you're for artistic freedom, you don't silence another artist. Okay? If you are a ticket holder, look for an email with information, blah, 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 blah. Dave Chappelle didn't do anything wrong. The last time a lot of these SJWs and people who were afraid of Dave Chappelle, scared of Dave Chappelle, offended by Dave Chappelle, he had a very successful Netflix show. It was successful. Everyone was trying to protest and say, oh, we got to stop Dave Chappelle, cancel Dave Chappelle. It didn't work. When I was interviewing Jimmy Dore here in the studio, again, check that interview I did, the full interview, and also the clip part about in regards to comedy and people wanting to censor it. Anyone that's calling for censorship, they too themselves are opening the door for them to be censored as well. Now, you don't have to like Dave Chappelle. You don't have to watch his comedy specials. You don't have to go to the show. Just walk away. Now, again, if you work for a venue like this, well, then who else do the workers not like? I get that the workers work together, and hey, look, I'm all for worker solidarity, but how much is this going to cost First Avenue? How much is it going to cost them in regards towards maybe booking other potential big names? Because if they're going to do that to Dave Chappelle, well, everybody's open on the chopping block then.
Okay, a couple of things I want to say. I mean, I happen to like Dave Chappelle just fine. A couple of things I want to mention. And we've been aware of this happening to some other comedians as well. And somebody offered an alternative perspective on this. They said that these places may be blaming their workers, and it may very well be that some of the workers did protest. But they've also suggested that maybe some competing acts may have done something and leaned on these venues as well. That this may be less about workers' stuff and more about competing acts. Just a theory that's been put out by somebody who's in the know and who's had to deal with this. So that's one way of looking at it. The other thing that concerns me is they basically said, look, yeah, but everybody's moving over to this venue. And that venue apparently is happy enough to have
Okay.
the shows. So it's not like the shows were canceled outright. They were moved, and the venue where they were going to be just pointed everybody else to the other venue.
Yeah.
And so the show is going on. My thing is this, is again, what is this doing to public life? Are we going to have a situation where some public venues, whether they be restaurants, bars, coffee houses, art galleries, theaters, clubs, whatever, are we going to start seeing these stark differences between these, which venues will host what political view or what social view? You know, I was talking to some friends who live in the United Kingdom, and what they told me, not so much in London, but in some areas, particularly up north, there are pubs, that are divided along religious lines. There are Protestant pubs and there are Catholic pubs.
Right.
And are we really going to want to see our venues in the United States divided along these lines? Who will host Rogan and Chappelle, or Dore, and who will not host them? Are we going to start seeing that greater division? I mean, people can choose who they want to go see. Absolutely. And again, I support workers' rights and workers' solidarity. If you don't want to work a show, okay, that's its own beastie over there.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at this as just another crack.
Yeah.
Another division. And this may seem like, okay, it's just a comedian, but in 5 years, are we going to start seeing certain venues, certain public spaces, or, places of entertainment that are effectively reserved for one mindset versus another? And do we really want to live with that kind of balkanization?
I think that kind of world, if it happens in 5 years or so, God forbid it does, is a sad state of affairs. It means people have not emotionally matured since high school. Look, you're going to run into bad people. You're going to run into evil people. Is Dave Chappelle a bad person? No, he's a freaking comedian. Okay? That's it. A very successful comedian. Now, if you don't like his jokes, if you don't like his shows, if you don't like his content, then don't follow him. Don't watch it. And if you are a venue with a big name or anything like that, well, guess what? How are you going to make
why did they book him to begin with? Why have all of a sudden they knew what they were doing?
Yeah, they great point. They knew what the hell they were doing, and by doing so, how does that make their reputation look? And also, where Pilgrim brings this up, that's also possible. Bring up your statement. Other acts might have refused to go if Chappelle was booked. Could be a tug of war of sorts. Which could be a thing.
And I have a pretty reliable source on that. Somebody who said that this may have been exactly what Where Pilgrim is saying. Like I just mentioned it.
Where Pilgrim's not the source. He's just
he's not the source. He's not. This is my source is somebody else who said, "Look, you may want to take that whole thing with the workers with a grain of salt."
Yeah.
And that could very well be, but the thing is, they knew what they were doing when they booked him. They've had plenty of time since a lot of what's happened has happened. And were they sitting on the ticket money? Were they, to me, this is highly suspicious.
Well, the thing is, if I was somebody that bought tickets to First Avenue and all of a sudden I found out the act that I wanted to go to get canceled like this right away, and if there is a tug of war and they're using the workers, by the way, because I'll retract what I said, if they're using the workers as like a shield wall, it calls into question really what kind of backbone then does management have? Because if they're gonna just then throw their people under the bus like that, it tells me why should I spend any single cent of mine to go to First Avenue?
Well, it's very unprofessional.
Yeah,
it's very unprofessional to say, look, you have a controversial act.
It's not even that controversial.
Well, but for some people he is.
Yeah.
And you have this controversial act. You knew he was controversial. You booked him. You did it in advance. You have to with a name like Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, but then they're making it as easy as pie.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, we're listening to our workers. We understand, we've caused harm to the community, this, that, and the other thing, but they're making it easy as pie for people to go see him. Okay, something is not adding up here.
Mm-hmm. I agree. One other thing too, when you see how fast people react to a certain individual comedy, like take for example Jimmy Dore or Dave Chappelle or Joe Rogan. Because Joe Rogan's going to be here in Chicago on August 6th, and you know what? Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to get tickets to it.
Nobody did. They sold out right away.
No, Jerry got tickets. Jerry got 2 tickets, though. So,
Yeah.
All right. Good job, Jerry.
Good job, Jerry.
Tell us how the show went. Jerry Vasilato's host of Chicago Corner. Be sure to check it out. Tuesdays and Fridays, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. But, yeah, I had to throw that plug in. But I think the thing we have to take away from this is that, you know, it's not going to stop Dave Chappelle. He's going to still keep on doing his act. He has a successful following. He has a long history of being a successful comedian, being in film, television, and all that. This is just a little pebble in the way. It's going to achieve nothing. And for those who are on the super fast rush of censorship, well, be careful. Somebody you might like, somebody you might follow, an act you might like, might get censored themselves, and then it's not so pretty, is it?
No, and it may be you next time.
That's right.
And I think also when you start caving into this sort of thing, you're setting yourself up.
Agreed.
For that. So, I mean, again, I don't know what happened. You know, we're hearing one thing, and we don't know the full story, and I don't know that we are. But I am really concerned that if you're going to have, you know, in a community where the varsity is going to cater to one political sentiment, the other, and then the other places will not, and they'll cater to their people, and we end up with this society just becomes stratified.
Yeah.
It concerns me.
Agreed.